Let's dissect the viral phenomenon that was the 2024 Paris Olympics. From record-breaking viewership to meme-worthy moments, this sporting event has redefined how we consume content. It certainly has us wondering how brands can effectively leverage viral moments for their own marketing campaigns. What role does user-generated content play in amplifying a user's experience? How can marketers measure the ROI of social media campaigns during major events? Marketing and sales are full of myths, misconceptions, and sometimes flat-out lies. Join us as we get out of the echo chamber and hopefully take the podium.
Hello and welcome to the Rethink Marketing Podcast, where we try to be two voices of reason in a sea of modern marketing chaos. I'm Paul Frodge, joined by Mr. Marketing, and for today's conversation, the wizard of web-winning ways, Colin Jeffries. Colin, how are you today?
Paul, I'm fantastic, although I haven't won a gold medal, so we'll take that. How are you?
I'm doing well. Did you catch any of the Summer Olympics this year?
I did. I watched a decent amount of boxing, a little bit of the breakdancing, of course, gymnastics, a little rowing. I was all over the place. It was really fun to watch Team USA kind of roll out and do a great job and see fantastic competitors from all over the globe. But what about you? What were some of your favorite events?
You talk about the breakdancing, and I was actually at the airport in San Francisco on the way back from picking up my daughter on Monday, and overheard another couple talking about the breakdancing competition and talking about the Australian competition of breakdancing, and I know that went viral, and we can't seem to understand if that was making fun of breakdancing in the terms of how it is actually being scored, or if that was a true competitive effort. What do you think?
It's hard to say. I really think it was a true competitive effort. And I only say that because we're talking about B-Girl Ray Gunn. She seemed like a pretty advanced breakdancer in a PhD who's teaching about dance, who is a competitive breakdancer in the Australian breakdancing scene, is my understanding. And I mean, she had to win a series of competitions, of battles, I think they're called, in order to get to the Olympics. So there were some speculations that she had came out and said she was intentionally trying to lose because breakdancing isn't about ratings and rankings and medals. I don't know if that's true or not. All I know is she seems to have a good sense of humor and she was doing a lot of interesting moves. I feel like in a lot of competition for sports, you definitely want to stick to the basics, but you also have to branch out to be noticed. And when we think about a snowboard routine, Shaun White doing a move that's named after him, when we think about gymnastics and Simone Biles doing a move that no one else is doing that's named after her, right? Maybe Ray Gunn was looking at this and thinking, hey, if I want to stand out and be different and be memorable, I have to do something that's different and memorable. And I'll say she may not have won a gold medal, or any medal for that matter, but she definitely is the most well-known breakdancer in the world right now.
No question about that, for sure. So for today's episode, one of the things that we're rethinking is really, when talking about declining TV viewership in many different areas, you think with all the doom and gloom about TV ratings viewership declining, the Olympics would be a dud, and a ratings dud for that matter. But guess what? The 2024 Paris Games defied those expectations. And looking at this, while everyone was predicting a record low U.S. audience, the numbers painted a completely different picture in this regard when it came to ratings. And it turns out that people still love a good competition.
I would say that's absolutely the case. I was having a conversation with a marketing friend of mine before the Olympics started, just about whether or not we thought that viewership would be on an uptake. Obviously, many people are not watching an entire competition. They're watching the recap on, say YouTube or on Facebook or other platforms. So it's interesting to look at holistic ratings and what I would consider our holistic impressions. We were talking about the breakdancing Australians' debut on the Olympics earlier, and I did not watch that competition, but I watched snippets of it on social media and on YouTube later, which is kind of funny to think about, where we're engaged in consuming Olympics content, but it might not be in the traditional form where ratings actually have impact.
Totally agree. When looking at it, 36% of viewers tuned in because they saw something online or on social media, and it really turbocharged the Olympics when it came to that. And that competition you're talking about with the breakdancing and everything. I didn't see that live either, but I went back and looked at YouTube after I saw it on social media and what was trending. And that really defied the odds against the actual Olympic viewership, because one of the things that Peacock did very well was to be able to have all of these different opportunities for people to view in different realms of TV instead of just watching it live or pseudo live. I guess Paris was ahead of us when it came to the actual competition, but for people to go back and view that later.
Absolutely. Paul, what are some takeaways that you think marketers should have from the Olympics? I mean, we talked about social media, we talked about standing out. Anything else that comes to mind that marketers should be looking at and thinking, ooh, let me rethink the way that I do this?
Yeah, I think the athlete influencer opportunity, where getting athletes involved in influencing in our particular brand, looking at endorsements and opportunities there over the years of my past background in radio and television when it came to that. The athlete influencing opportunity when it comes to social media and that authenticity really stands out as an opportunity for brands.
Absolutely. It's fun, I think, when brands have athletes that excel. It's fun when there are really good sportsmanship moments that brands can play on, again, with those athlete influencers, like you're saying. And sometimes it sucks because you want the athlete to win the gold and they come in with the bronze or they place fifth or something. So brands can really show, I would say, solidarity and support for individual athletes representing various countries. I mean, we've seen sponsorships with the Jamaican running dynasty and things of that nature where, brands like Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, et cetera, are working with those influencers and those teams together to really advance their brand and the brand perception.
No question. I think when it comes to that, as I mentioned, the authenticity being key, the collaboration efforts with those brands. And it's difficult sometimes when you think of a brand trying to find a social media influencer and how that particular influencer may or may not be aligned with the brand, and going out and finding that particular person, because they might be doing social media marketing and influencing for another brand that might not really be in the same category or industry. And I think it's difficult sometimes to find influencers that aren't going to wreck the brand per se, in terms of what is this person going to do a month from now. And that becomes very difficult when it comes to either personality or their actual habits in real life. And so I think it for us as marketers, it really is difficult to find out if this person is going to destroy a brand. We talked about it before, and with Bud Light, for instance, like what is it going to be 6 months from now of this social media influencer doing something crazy or not in line with that brand? So I think it becomes difficult, but it can definitely get a lot of eyeballs on your product.
That's a great point, Paul. I'll take the conversation in a little bit of a different direction, which is one of my takeaways, which is we should have a great menu of content options for our followers, for our audience. I think the Olympics did a great job. If you're interested in rowing, if you're interested in gymnastics, if you're interested in judo and boxing and fill in the blank, there's a sport for you. There's content and entertainment for you. But if you are not interested in those things, there was a lot of curation. And again, NBC through Peacock and YouTube and other methods did a really good job of curating content and saying, hey, here are the top 10 moments of track and field. Here are the top 10 moments of gymnastics and so on and so forth, where I didn't have to watch every single basketball game. I could just watch some highlights. I could watch the recap. I could watch the top 10 moments of Olympic basketball, etc. And so I think they did a really good job where if I want to search out judo or boxing or any particular sport, I could do that. If I didn't want to search that out and I had 10 or 15 minutes to catch up on what was going on in the Olympics in Paris, I was able to go watch the top 10 moments or the top 5 moments and things of that nature. So as marketers, when we're thinking about the myriad options we have with content, let's remember that some people want the deep dive and to watch the entire basketball game. And some people want to watch the highlight reel. Some people want to watch a bunch of different highlight reels from various sports, etc. I think we're picking up on the analogy here, but there are a lot of different ways to present content and to make it consumable for the right audience at the right time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that lends itself into the storytelling opportunity as well when it comes to the power of captivating certain visuals, certain emotions that can be evoked from that building of brand loyalty, and it all is coming back to this whole social media enterprise that we're talking about, where we open the episode when we're talking about social media influencing opportunities for more viewing of the Olympics, and with brands to be able to take that power of captivating those visuals and getting people into that actual brand experience is another opportunity for brands out there, to look at platforms like Twitter, Instagram, TikTok for those emerging trends. Looking at the opportunities for conversations to be related to your industry and brand as well.
That's a great point, Paul. I love that you brought up relatability and what I would consider as relevance, and then also the experience element of things. Because let's be honest, it's different watching the Olympics and cheering for Team USA, or if you're in a different country, cheering for your country. Azerbaijan and China and a lot of countries showed up and did really well. France, as an example, did well historically for the Olympics. But it's fun to show up and in the US, cheer for Team USA and watch them win and feel like in some ways you're a small part of that because they're representing not just themselves as the best gymnasts and the best rowers and the best fill in the blank in the world, but they're representing their country too, which is really cool. And so we as brands can get behind that and we can connect with those experiences and recognize, hey, maybe this goes beyond just watching an athletic competition. And there's something a little bit deeper, a little bit more emotional that we can tap into.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Looking at, also we talk about looking at competitive analysis as well. Is looking at what your competition is doing. Are they generating or having user generated content? What are they doing that is really trending or sparking interest and conversation when it comes to social media? And the opportunity there to see what they're also doing wrong and not generating as much interaction with those that are supporting that particular brand, and taking advantage of that for your own social media content.
So, Paul, you're saying that we should turn social media into a competition.
Let's do it.
I love it. Well, Paul, I really enjoyed watching the Olympics this year. I'm looking forward to in 2 years when we have the Winter Olympics. Anything else you would say to marketing leaders that you took away from the Olympics this year?
Yeah, I would say also, the need for speed. We're talking about competition and that opportunity where, emphasizing the importance of real-time response, looking at agility in social media marketing, and that speed to market. Oftentimes, if you're first to market, we talk about that too, is the opportunity to really lead the charge when it comes to social and your industry or category.
Excellent, Paul. Well put. This was a great conversation talking a little bit about how viewership exceeded expectations for the Olympics, the various channels and the various ways that the content was curated and served up so that way people were consuming it and were relating to it. Talking about social media, athletic partnerships, storytelling, speed, and of course, recognizing that people may want to consume content on their native channels or in their native style. So we are able to take vast amounts of content, cut it up, and serve it up in ways that people will actually consume it. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today on the Rethink Marketing Podcast. Until next time, keep rethinking those common assumptions. And as always, go Team USA. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If people want to connect with us, where should they go, Paul?
RethinkMarketingPodcast.com, Colin. What can listeners do to help us in return for this sage marketing wisdom and our pithy humor?
They can help us by leaving a review on their favorite platform or sharing this episode with a fellow marketer to help them cut through the clutter.
Well, until next time, keep rethinking those common assumptions.